Welcome to the NLX Extra Mile podcast. Today we have a special guest, Anita Marsh from AMR Business Solutions. Anita happens to be a bookkeeper and a very special bookkeeper at that. Anita, welcome and thank you so much for showing up here at the NLX podcast.
Thank you for having me, Bruce.
Anytime. And I just have I have one thing. I got the dates wrong, but I just realized, because you told me this about a minute ago, that tax closure for taxes was yesterday.
Yes, it was.
Okay, so that means that you must be either that's liquor in your cup, or you're having a wonderful drink, or you're going on vacation.
I'm still on coffee. Still running on coffee.
Tell us a little bit about why people wait until the last minute when they know the deadline is approaching.
Mostly because they don't have their paperwork organized.
Okay, all right. So therefore, they need a bookkeeper to organize their paper.
Yes, they do.
But even if they're organized, okay, so let's talk about that for a second. You bring up a very good point. Even if they're organized, okay, does that mean that they are 100% prepared when that tax deadline comes, or is there things that they need to really do outside of, what you prepare for them?
So we prepare them all year long, but at the end of the year, in the month of January, you'll get a lot of 1099s, 1095s, 1098s. So you get a lot of tax forms. And I always tell all my clients to make a folder that says tax information. And so when you're sent these tax information, put it in the folder, because the accountant needs that in order to file your tax return. Mostly they are distributions from investments. They are your mortgage reductions. They are that you have health insurance.
Oh,
so
wow.
you need
Okay.
all that information in order for your accountant to file your tax return.
Right. Okay. Do you, as a bookkeeper, do any of your clients ask you to keep all that information for them?
Yes, a lot of them leave their mail for me on a weekly basis.
Right.
And they ask me to open their mail.
Correct.
And then I will make a file folder for the accountant with all this important information in it.
And I could see why they do that. There's a lot of solopreneurs out there that are out putting out fires all the time.
Correct.
And to me, it makes most sense for, them to provide everything to their bookkeeper and let their bookkeeper handle all of those transactions.
A lot of information will come in the month of January and February. And small business owners, one, don't have the time. Two, don't even know if this is important information that they actually need and whether the accountant needs it. So I help them in telling them what the accountant needs, and I scan and send it over to the accountant so the accountant can do the actual tax planning. Because as a bookkeeper, we just keep your books in order for the year. The accountant does tax planning.
Okay. But you're the liaison between the two.
Correct.
Right. So in your preparation, you're actually saving that. You've got to be saving that money, that client money, because the accountant would charge an exorbitant amount of money to be doing all of what you do.
So the accountant charges a lot more money per month for daily bank recs and monthly reconciliations that we do. This gives more time for the accountant to do tax planning. We don't do tax planning. The biggest part where you're going to save your money is actually on tax planning. And if the accountant doesn't know what your numbers are by the end of December, they can make financial moves between January and April 15th that will save you money on your taxes. Because after April 15th or whatever, when it happens to fall on a weekend, you can't make adjustments, but you can make adjustments before that. So whether it's maxing out your SEP IRA, whether it's maxing out a Roth, or just paying different bills before the end of the tax year, the accountant needs to have that information, but they can't have that information if you don't have a reconciled account of information.
And what systems do you recommend or do you use for doing all of this bookkeeping?
So right now, 90% of our clients are on QuickBooks between desktop and online.
Okay.
We also use Sage, we use Sirius, we use a lot of industries have industry-specific softwares, and we help with that as well. But all of it needs to pull out the numbers and an exact information in order to give to the accountant.
Interesting. Okay. So I could see where that would save them a considerable amount of money, you doing that versus the accountant doing that.
So if the accountant was doing it, they wouldn't take time to realize if a meal, say you went to Tommy's Tap and Tavern,
Right.
did you take out a client? Did you take out yourself? Did you take out your team?
Oh, so you categorize it for the
So
client.
we categorize that on a weekly, monthly basis so that it's classified as a different tax percentage.
What do you do if the customer, he's now your customer, if he loses the receipt or doesn't have the receipt?
Most times we pray that they have the receipt, and I have a lot of my clients trained that they can text us the receipt.
Right.
So we have them in the habit of when they're at a restaurant to text us the receipt
Okay.
in case they lose it between the time that they're there versus the time we see them next. So then we print it and we put it in their file, so we always have documentation. But it's a big difference between if you're taking out somebody as meals and entertainment for hoping for a new client, that's 50% tax deductible. If you are taking out your staff because they did a great job, that's 100% deductible.
Interesting.
Big
Okay.
difference. You need to know that difference.
I didn't even know that. That's great information. That's great to share that. That's good. Now,
So a lot of tax companies
right?
will bring in food during tax season
Okay.
because they work such long hours.
Gotcha.
That's 100% tax deductible versus if it was just meals and entertainment taking out a client that you're hoping to bring in, that's only 50%.
Interesting. Wow, a lot of good stuff. Now, I so many times I'll go into an establishment and they'll say, "Do you want your receipt?" And I say no because I use my credit card statement at the end of the month. No, don't do that.
You need your receipt.
Okay. And
So if you're ever audited by the IRS, the first thing they're going to ask for is your receipt. The second thing I will tell you is make a copy of that receipt because in today's industry with the way that they print receipts, between the paper and the ink fades. By the time you end up being audited, the receipt is not readable.
almost like photos years ago.
Yes.
You hear that at home? The receipt fades. Okay. Well, that's terrific. The next thing is when somebody, like tax season closed yesterday, okay?
Yes.
If they close tax season, all right, and you have to have your documentation in, all right, because your taxes are due, and you don't have the money, you owe, let's say you owe an exorbitant amount of money.
Correct.
When you file or when someone files for an extension, does that mean that they get an extension on the payment as well?
No, it does not. So definitely talk to your tax professional, but I will suggest making a payment. So send in any amount of money that you can afford. Then once the tax deadline is done, because the phones are incredibly busy during tax season, call or write and get yourself put on a legit extension. The IRS is willing to work with you. They don't want to put people in jail. So every time you hear about people getting put to jail because of tax evasion, they really did a lot of bad for a long time.
Or they just ignored it, period, and thought it was going to go away.
Correct.
Exactly.
So
Okay.
the IRS is more than willing to work with you and will put you onto a payment plan that is affordable because they don't want to put people in jail.
Got you. Okay. Well, Anita, I can't thank you enough. This was great information, and I hope everybody at home was listening to this because remember, save your receipts. Don't do what I do and use your credit card statement. So, Anita, if somebody wanted to get in touch with you, okay, why don't you tell them how they can get in touch with you so that you can give them a complimentary analysis on, what it is you can do for them?
We would love to help anybody. We would love to help just answer any questions you may have. You can email us at anita@amrbusinesssolutions.com. And our phone number is 973-946-8401. And we would love to help anybody and just answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much, Anita. And this was another podcast from the NLX Extra Mile Podcast with Anita Marsh from AMR Business Solutions. I'm Bruce Porter from SWAT Marketing Solutions, and we'll see you next time on the Extra Mile Podcast. Have a great day.